Hello everybody, it's Mark with Grimtastic Baits, here to give another rating on a mold that I use for my business selling baits. As I always say, I'm not paid off by any of these places. I don't get discounts by them, I don't get sponsorship, just a pure no BS review on what I think of these baits. So this is the last of what I have. So for a while, until I buy another mold of some sort, probably won't be doing a lot of these videos anymore, unfortunately, but I will probably fill in the time doing other stupid stuff. So today we are talking about the Epic Bait Molds 1.7 inch Whipwad. Now, as you all probably know, I did a quick first impression on this mold, and I didn't do a rating because I want to give it a fair shake. I wanted to shoot it plenty to learn the nuances of it and how it performs and take it out fishing and try out the baits from it. So I did not give an immediate review like some people will jump right on and, oh, this is the greatest bait ever, you should get this mold because of it. You know me, I don't do that. I gave it a very fair shake. And right off the bat, I'm going to tell you, you could probably tell from my first impressions, I kind of had some buyer's guilt about getting this thing. Which brings us right off the bat to the cost. This thing, brand new, I choke even saying this, $240 for a 12 cavity. So, $240 for this small, you can see it's not big. That's the size of my hand next to it. It's small. There's not a lot to it. So, you take $240 divided by 12, that's $20 a cavity. So each one of those little guys, 20 bucks. Don't get me wrong, I understand there is a lot of detail here. There's a lot of machine time. Specifically, if you look right in that tail, which I will be talking about. This might get a little lengthy today, unfortunately. I would hate to tell you that, especially if you don't like the sound of my voice. But so let's talk about the other options out there. First of all, I'm going to tell you this. There's nothing else out there like this because of one thing. Because of the way it laminates. When you laminate, like if you're to do just a normal 2-inch curl tail grub, you're going to get your lamination line, right, on two sides, but then the two colors are going to blend in the tail, as where this does not allow that to happen. So your lamination line follows all the way through the tail, which makes this very unique. Now, if you don't think that's a big deal, here's your two other options that I found. Bass Tackle 6007. They have something a little larger. It's a 2-inch Stinger curly tail, and it is 36 cavities for $219. So you're getting 16 more cavities for 20 bucks less. So that ends up being $6.08 a cavity. Very nice price. The other one I found that was kind of similar, and I want to also comment, I know there's tons of curly tail grubs, but I'm not going for the grubs. I'm going for this minnow swim bait look and design. That's why you're not going to hear me saying pricing on or comparing this to a 2-inch grub, because it's not a 2-inch grub. It's really not. So with that said, the other option is the Fat Guy Fishing 1.75-inch BA curly kicker. The unique thing about that is it comes around and then there's like a little, I guess almost like a swim bait boot tail at the end of it. A little different. They sell theirs 14 cavity for $120. So that ends up being $8.57 a cavity. So there are two other options out there, like I say, if you're not concerned about that lamination line going all the way through the tail. So, $240. To be fair, when I rated the 1.7-inch Epic prey bait, I gave the cost at $240 4. And since this has two more cavities in it, I can only be fair and keep everything in line with everything else. Say, I'm going to give this a 5 on cost. Not great. I mean, not a great price. I understand that there's a ton of machining and a lot of work that has to go in that, and probably a lot of time. But you have to figure out, is getting a laminate line all the way through the tail, which is the only thing that makes this bait different, worth that $240? Still struggling with the buyer's guilt on this one, to be honest. So I'm going to give it a 5, like I say. Now design, I have to give. Well, let's talk about the design first. First of all, just like anything in Epic Bait molds, you got the back, the front. There's your Epic Bait molds. They got a nice label on it. There's the separator for the laminates, and on this side you have the marling bait symbol, belly, and again they put the cavity. Again, really wished I just have it on the side. I think most people store them on their sides and would like that more than the book style, you know, like you're looking at a book. So when they say 1.7 inch, they say 1.7 inch hanging. So it is a little shorter than 1.7 inches, but when you hang it, it is 1.7. As I mentioned, get the lamination bar in there. There's no wing nuts. I should rate less because there's no wing nuts, but I'm not going to. It's how Epic does things, unfortunately. So along with this, that makes it a little unique, is if you look really closely, let me see here, get a little pointer. These little ridges, these bumps, and there's 3 of them along the tail, are like little extra pieces of plastic. And the tail is thin, incredibly thin, see-through thin, which I will talk about in a little bit here, the things that go with that. And I thought, these little bumps, you know, they're cute and all, but I bet they're just kind of gimmicky. I was wrong. It does produce much more twist on that very thin tail. So I'm going to show you here a few, more than a few seconds. I'm going to compare and I'm going to show you what it looks like. I'm going to use, I believe it's a Berkley Power Grub. Yeah, I know it's a grub. It's not a minnow style, but Berkley Power Grub, right, with the same size weighted hook as the Whipwad. You can see they are essentially identical in size, and I'm going to have the identical weight, and I'm going to show you a slow motion video in my daughter's fish tank, of course, scaring her sick little bit around, but I'm going to show that right here. Now, as you can see from that video, that tail spins and kicks way more. It's a thinner tail, but those little nubs of plastic, it's not a gimmick. They do spin more. There is more action to that than just a standard twist tail. I want to also talk about something else too, is in the design. This does help when you're doing laminates, save you some plastic. But for example, if you were to take these apart right here with the rudder, we're looking at a weight of, if you remove the baits, you get 16 grams of waste from the sprue all the way through the runners and such. Now, if you take that and you just make it the little extra pieces here, I guess you can call it the runners. If you add all these together, which would be your true waste if you're doing a laminate, you're going to be using 12 grams of plastic. Overall, the baits themselves, if you're to take them off and just weigh the baits, it's a total of 16 grams. So There's only four. I know this is getting really touchy and technical or whatever, but I love watching my bottom line. If I watch my bottom lines, I can sell my baits cheaper to you guys and not get undersold by some fool out there that's skipping on their excise taxes. So, yeah, I go down to the grams with a lot of my stuff, and that's just the way I do business. So you got 4 grams of waste difference between your baits and your runners. So you are going to get almost the same amount of waste as you're going to get from the baits. So again, something like that, you want to make sure that you can use those 2 colors and melt them together to get a different color that you might be able to use later on, or you will be wasting twice the plastic to make these baits if you're doing it for business. Now, that given or being said, design, I gotta give it a 10. I really do. Even though there's no wing nuts or anywhere I can clamp it together and wing nut it down with bolts or what have you, I'm still going to give it a 10 because they have made some major improvements between this and the 1.7 as far as how it shoots. So I'm going to give it a 10. So getting into the versatility of it, it only shoots singles and doubles. There are no other options for it. It's this or that. There's no in between. So when I rated the Epic Prey Bait 1.7, it's the same thing. I gave it a 7. So I'm going to do the same with this. I'm going to give it a 7. Even though I feel both of them should have been knocked down to a 6, I'm going to be, I'm going to be a nice guy. I'm going to give it a 7. So let's look at the baits. First of all, yeah, that's a single. It's just it's what I call egg. In reality, it's just it's actually blue glow powder, but the blue powder doesn't glow that well. So it is what it is. Then I got the little June bug there. One thing I'll tell you about this is you can see how clear that tail is. Here's one thing you got to think about when shooting this is you have to go so much deeper and darker on your colors. If you don't, I'm going to show you another example here. If you don't go dark on your colors, and I went really dark on this, look at how light it looks still. Just because of the fact that it's so small and so see-through, you don't get a lot of color. One of my first duels, you almost can't even tell there's 2 different colors in there. You have to hold it up to light and really look at it, but there's a red on the top and a purple on the bottom. Almost undistinguishable. This one here, which I love this color, I call it silver minnow. You've got like it's a frost on the bottom style, and then powder with silver flake for silver on the top, and that's a great one if you have clear water. This was one of the first ones I finally got the dual to work out on, and we're going to talk about that. You see again, that's so thin. In fact, this top color, I had to darken. It's the same thing, same cup, but I had to darken it up so much more just to get that. Otherwise, that's your green pumpkin or watermelon. I'm sorry, watermelon. So something to think about when you're mixing. Here's the old Ronald McDonald to show you the laminate. As you see, the laminate goes all the way through the tail. That's what makes this different from any other curl tail. That's what that unusual little shape up in there does. It spins that plastic around. Here I went really, really dark. Like, these almost look black in the cup. But now you can really start to distinguish and see the laminate colors. And there you can really see it on the tail. So, advice, go really dark on your colors or you won't be able to tell a difference. So here's again, the Berkeley tail. We're not even going to talk about that. And there's the one I used in the test tank there. Again, that's the June bug. So, yeah, overall, versatility, 7. As far as use, this mold was, as you can tell from my first impressions, so frustrating and difficult to use at first. I was doing everything I originally would do for any other epic bait mold, and I was going slow. I was using a ton of heat on the mold. I could not figure laminates out on this damn thing. I couldn't figure out why my top two cavities were never laminating. I was about to pull my hair out. Well, I actually shaved my head, so I guess that's not a fair thing to say. But I finally found out through trial and error. I was like, F this. I'm going to go fast as I can go just to see what happens, see how bad I can really screw these things up. And lo and behold, the fast shot around 300 and 340 degrees shot the perfect laminate. I was baffled that if you don't shoot really fast, it's amazing how quickly this will start to clog up right in this area. If you go even medium speed, you'll be lucky to get clear down here. You have to shoot this fast, but do not shoot it hot. My other mistake was I was keeping this mold really hot, thinking it was going to be like the prey bait when I shot it. Don't do that. Keep it room temperature, maybe a little warmer. I had this thing scorching hot to the point I couldn't touch it, thinking that would help the laminates. That's what hurt the laminates. So when you inject this thing, you go extremely fast, 300 and 340 degrees, and as soon as you feel the pressure build up where you can tell you filled it, get the injector off there immediately and start topping off the sprue with your I can't think, cup. Words are hard. So start doing that right away. If you don't do that, your top two will not laminate. But if you back off as soon as you feel pressure, when you know it's full from that really fast injection, and don't inject hard, a fast, soft shot, and then fill that sprue up, you will get perfect cavity or perfect laminates through every single cavity. And that is much better than 1.7 inch prey bait was. In addition to that, it does not dent like the 1.7 inch prey bait did. So whatever they did different here in the venting, it worked. Or maybe it was just the design of the bait. I'm not sure. But whatever they did, it worked. And it does shoot significantly better than the 1.7 prey bait. All in all, that being said, once you figure out the nuances of this thing and how to shoot it, and it becomes less frustrating. Frustrating? I think it's frustrating. Yeah. Anyway, a little bit of the Iowan coming out in me. I'm not in Iowa anymore. Haven't lived there for 20 years, 25 years. Anyway, I'm old. Moving on. I'm going to give the use on this thing a 9 because once you do figure it out, it is very easy to shoot. But again, take it from me, take it from everything I've gone through with this thing. I gave it a fair shot, 1 month of constant testing with it, different temperatures, different plastics, the colorants versus powders, trying to figure out exactly what's going on with this thing. Fast, soft shot, top the sprue. You'll be successful every time. Now, as far as the appeal, this is where I wanted to hold off also a little bit on giving this a rating. Because it's a new mold, I don't know what the appeal is going to be for it. I didn't know at the time. Now, looking right now, I can't find these anywhere on the secondary market. So people are not selling them. So either they didn't buy them, or they did buy them, and they like them. On Epic Bait Mold's site, it's not ranked on best-selling where it's placed on the website. It's on their front page right now. So there's no way for me to tell if it's selling really well or not. In addition to that, it is a new bait, or new mold. It's going to take a while for it to build up, get up there to a bestseller. I don't see anybody else selling. There probably are, but I can't find them. I've scoured the internet trying to find if anybody else is selling this bait. And I can only find mine. I think, well, no, I take that back. There's one other place. I don't remember the name of the guy, but he's selling them also. But you're not going to find a lot of people selling these. And I think it's the price that has a lot of people scared off from it. I mean, $240 for a 12 cavity tiny little bait. Not great. There's not a lot of appeal to it, and I don't know if a lot of people give a crap about seeing that lamination go all the way through the tail like it does. But that tail does create much more kick, as I've shown on that slow motion video. But to be fair, I'm not seeing people talk about it. I'm not seeing people ask questions about it. It's almost like it's out there, but it's not. So I want to be as fair as I can with this, but I have to give the appeal on this a 5. There's just not much talk about it. There's not many people selling them. They're not on the secondary. So unfortunately I have to give it a 5, which is really going to hurt it along with the cost. Because if there was appeal to it and it was cheaper, this thing would be knocked out of the ballpark. But because of those two items, that gives that an overall rating of a 7.2 on this. Would I recommend buying this? If you can sell to a tackle shop, or you do a lot of serious crappie and panfish and ice fishing, by the way, you want to talk about a great ice fishing bait, because that tail is so thin, and in the cold water, I've used it in cold water, really cold water, 30-40 degree water. That day my daughter and I were out, you've probably seen the video for it, but these things will slay the crappie. They do a great job. These things were out fishing the 1.7 inch prey bait. In fact, I'm about to switch out all my prey baits in my tackle box to the 1.7 Whipwad. If you do a lot of crappie fishing, you can find a store, a tackle shop that wants to buy them and would pay you handsomely for them. Yeah, it's probably worth getting, but try and get it on sale. The only reason I bought it was because it was on that 20% off Black Friday sale. No way in hell I would have paid $240 for this. And honestly, you shouldn't either. If you can find it on the secondary market, great. I don't think you probably will, but I'd say it's 50-50 if you want this one or not. It's the cost that's scary, but it's a great bait that this mold makes. I mean, it produces. I thought it was gimmicky. I wasn't a believer, but something about it. So if you're a serious crappie fisherman, you probably want this in your arsenal. If not, if you don't want to buy the mold, hey, buy them from me. I'll sell them to you. No big deal. You know, I'm selling these pack of 30 at the time of filming. Pack of 30 single color for 30 of them for $5. And if you wanted a dual, a laminate, you know, such as this or exactly this color here, I have all these are the colors I have right now, I believe, for the most part. $6 for a pack of 30. And it's only because, you know, there's some waste involved. They are smaller. They take less plastic than the 1.7 inch. So that's why I decided to throw in 10 more as opposed to making a 20 pack. You fill the pack up and you look and it looks like it's like not even half full. And I kind of got guilt out of that. So I was like, no, we're going to do these as a 30 pack for that same price as the 1.7 and the 20 pack. So anyway, I digress. I'm rambling. This has gone on too long. But this was the last one, peeps. Unless I get a new mold sometime soon, there will be no more ratings, unfortunately. I'm sorry. But if there's something out there that catches your eye, and just shoot me an email, say, hey, have you thought about this one? And maybe I'll end up buying it. You never know. Buy it, try it out. But anyway, again, thanks for watching. Don't subscribe. I'm not your dad. I can't tell you what to do. But I hope you all have a great new year starting. By the time this comes out, we'll already be in 2024. I'm recording this at the last end of 2023. So, again, thank you everyone for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you with something a little different next time.